Hi, my name is Scott, and this is Adun Oakenshield, my general, or commander, I guess you call him. Okay, Adun Oakenshield is basically raised dead on a stick, a little more expensive, but he definitely does the job and he gives me the colors we want. Okay? So, your basic mix of lands, nothing too exciting, some fetch lands, some multicolor lands, you know, pretty much a good mix to get me the colors I need. Seems to work pretty well. The cycling lands, of course, very, very handy. And then Hideaway, because what better way is there to cheat things into play than a land that can't be countered? Some, you know, good utility there. That's always good. This is one that a lot of people miss, because you can use this only to play multicolored spells. A significant part of my deck is multicolored. Ghost Quarter, Wasteland, enough said, because, you know, somebody else might have a Dark Depths and get it going. This one's kind of a fun one just because it lets you pump up all the things you already have, or all the things that are coming into play, and sometimes I get a lot of things into play on one turn, especially if I've got a pretty effective Gaia's Cradle going. Winding Canyons is another fun one that people often forget or don't see. For 2 tap, until end of turn, you can play creature cards whenever you could play an instant. So when they're not expecting you to have a blocker available, for example. And then, of course, Maze of Ith comes in very handy when they do all the silly things that, you know, commander decks do. Now let's talk a little bit about the creatures. It's pretty much just to get you the more mana. Again, for Dark Depths and Planeswalkers, other things with counters, there's plenty of options. il-Dal is one of my favorite old cards. You know, creature suddenly becomes power or toughness of 1. They're a whole lot easier to deal with than they were supposed to be. Pyre Zombie has been actually a little bit weaker than I thought he'd be. It's good because it recurs, but it's only at the beginning of your upkeep, so I'm only doing it once each time around the table. Coffin Queen. I love stealing creatures from other people's graveyards, or even from my graveyard. Again, did I say I like stealing creatures from people's graveyards? You have to have a Verdant Force if you're going to play a fatty deck, and if I'm cheating things into play, it's because it's a fatty deck. Rampaging Baloths, I mean, it's fun, it gives you creature advantage. I kind of like the landfall thing. It's even more effective since I have fetch lands. A classic, Spiritmonger. Loving. This card's actually proven to be kind of interesting. It'd be fun if I could make him my general, because he deals general damage every turn. Oh well. This is one, I tried so many ways to build a card around this deck, or a deck around this card. Just didn't work out. But in Commander, this is so strong. Cards are going to opponents' graveyards all the time. If they don't deal with this quickly, it becomes, you know, 2020 Flying Beast. Everybody's favorite Flame Tongue. It's got a new look, though. This is pretty solid. You can make people discard things, and after all, I explained that I do like stealing cards out of other people's graveyards. Kresh is kind of good too. Once again, you know, putting things in other people's graveyards is to my benefit, and it makes him bigger. Necrotic Ooze, once I've got those things in those graveyards, let's steal all their abilities. A lot of my creatures are green and or black, and this makes it just that much better. And of course, it gives me a 3/3 black worm, essentially, since it's 1/1 and 2+1/+1s. Commander, when do you not have 6 or more lands in play in Commander? This card has been insane. People just don't like to kill it, and every now and then I just kill it myself for the mass effect. I kind of like Vein Drinker. He tends to die a lot, so I can't tell you how good he really is. Must be good if he dies a lot. Vigor, Dread, we gotta love those. This is my big surprise, because there is card or land destruction in this deck. There's people playing fetch lands all over the place. He often comes into play as, you know, just huge, huge. Well, when you open a shiny card like this, you have to put it in your commander deck. It might be good. And this one is good. He's not just in there because he's shiny, he's just plain good. Ditto. Now let's see how we got ways to find things that we need. The classic tutors. Now, I got a lot of creatures, so why not search for them? I got a lot of creatures, so why not search for them? I love creatures that go get me land. I like just going and getting the right land. In fact, that's a great way to get the Gaia's Cradle at a good point in time. Yeah, go get a land. Oh, yeah, go get a land. Go get a land and do a bunch of damage, too. That's kind of cool. Now, that's a pretty classic kind of pyrotechnics or pyroclasm effect, excuse me. Terminate, decimate. This card is terrible in Constructed, but in Commander you often have an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a land to target, and suddenly it becomes pretty darn good. Wrecking Ball, again, very good utility. Not a lot of snow creatures in Commander. Again, utility, and it fits the theme since it brings things back from the graveyard. Again, pretty effective. A little bit of card advantage, a little bit of card recovery, I guess, not really advantage. Giving my big fat creatures haste just doesn't seem fair. Sneaking things into play during combat, again, not very fair. This one just really attracts me, and it's shiny, so I couldn't resist, and maybe it'll work out pretty good. This one is a great card. People just really, it changes their whole strategy when this hits the board. You know, and you're not familiar with Defense of the Heart, it's during my upkeep, if one of my opponents, any one of my Commander opponents, controls 3 or more creatures, sacrifice this, go get 2 of my creatures, put them into play. I've used this to go out and get the Broodmate Dragon and Verdant Force, or any number of things. It's just insane. Oh, and speaking of cheating things into play, yeah, or cheating them into play back out of the graveyard, yeah. Stir the Grave's kind of cool, although it can be a little bit expensive with the X in there, but it works out pretty well. Grim Discovery is really, really good in this format, especially once you've cracked a fetch land and they've dealt with one of your creatures. Rise from the Grave, again, it's good, it's a little more expensive, but it puts it in play. Torrent of Souls puts it in play, makes it bigger, and gives it haste. Yeah, that's pretty good. I like Vengeful Rebirth because it lets me recover something from the graveyard, and oh, by the way, let's do some damage. The classic. And I kind of like Reanimate with a card that isn't in here, the one that says your life total can't change. I'll have to put that in, won't I? Animate Dead, the classic, and then Life and Death. I don't think I've ever played the life side. I just go and steal things, you know, put them into play. Again, put things into play out of the graveyard. And oh yeah, put things into play out of the graveyard. And thanks for watching CMDR Decks. Please subscribe and favorite.